Every battery storage datasheet you've ever read was tested at 25 degrees Celsius. That's the lab temperature. That's the condition the manufacturer optimizes for. That's the number on the brochure. Your jobs aren't at 25 degrees. Scotland in January, a commercial roof in March, a garage in northern Germany at 6 a.m. That gap between what the datasheet says and what happens on your actual install is where battery storage systems fail. And when they fail, you get the call. Here's what you actually see on site when the cold hits. The system isn't charging, the BMS has throttled back or shut down charging completely. So on a cold morning, exactly when you want your system topping up from overnight low rate tariffs, it's sitting doing nothing. For your customer, higher bills. For you, a callback. The datasheet said the battery works, and it does. At 25 degrees. Here's something the industry doesn't talk about much. There are hundreds of companies selling battery storage systems, assembling enclosures, writing firmware, building BMS controllers. But the number of companies that actually manufacture the core lithium-ion cell, the electrochemical heart of the product, that number is far smaller, because cell manufacturing is a different discipline entirely. It's material science, electrode coating, electrolyte chemistry. It requires enormous capital investment and decades of process knowledge to do properly. Most battery system manufacturers source their cells from someone else. A handful make their own. Ampace make their own cells. And that distinction matters because the fixes to cold temperature performance don't live in the enclosure or in the BMS, they live in the cell itself. That's the starting point for FrostCore, and why this isn't a workaround. So how has the rest of the industry been patching the problem? Two approaches, both compromises. First, derate the specs, publish a minus 10 degrees Celsius operating temperature, accept reduced performance in the cold, tell the customer their system charges more slowly in winter, job done. On paper. The second, add a heater. Fit a resistive heating element inside the cabinet. When the cell gets cold, the heater fires, warms up everything to operating temperature, then charging begins. It works, but it's another component, another control circuit, another failure point. And here's the real problem with the heater approach. You're using stored energy or grid energy to warm a battery before it can be charged. On the coldest nights, when off-peak tariff rates are lowest and you most want to charge, you're burning electricity just to get the system ready. The economics of that get particularly ugly fast. For a customer who's trying to run every penny through the battery, Ampace's answer is FrostCore, and it's a cell-level solution, not a system-level patch. Ampace haven't published the full mechanism behind FrostCore. That's proprietary. What they have published is the outcome. Charge and discharge at full rated power at minus 20 degrees Celsius without auxiliary heating. Be precise about what that means. In cold conditions, the total energy your battery can store, the kilowatt-hour figure, will be slightly lower. That's physics. It's true of every lithium-ion cell on the market. And any manufacturer claiming otherwise isn't being straight with you. What FrostCore addresses is different. It's the throttling problem. Without a cold weather cell solution, a standard battery in deep cold can't move charge at anything close to its rated speed. The BMS backs off, the system charges slowly or not at all. We're not in a position to tell you exactly what's happening at cell level, but what we can tell you is what backs the claim: test data and in-house cell manufacturing. The result for your install: a system that charges and discharges at full rated power in January, not throttled, not shut down. And here's another number that doesn't get talked about enough in residential battery storage: 15,000 cycles. A standard residential battery, good quality, well-known brand, typically rates at around 6,000 cycles, some less. The new PRS3 Elite is different. The new PRS3 Elite is rated for 15,000. That's not a marginal improvement, that's a fundamentally different product lifespan. And here's why that number is becoming more important, not less. Dynamic tariffs are here, the grid is moving to time of use pricing, and the gap between peak and off-peak rates is widening. A customer on a smart tariff who's actively charging their battery to arbitrage those rate differences, charging at 2 a.m., discharging at 5 p.m., might run that battery once or twice a day. At 6,000 cycles, that's roughly 8 to 10 years. At 15,000 cycles, that's 20 years and beyond. Vehicle to grid is coming, virtual power plants are live. A battery that earns money for your customer needs to last long enough to actually earn it. And Ampace back the 15,000 cycle claim with a zero capacity degradation guarantee for the first 3 years at rated operating conditions. That's the kind of warranty language that changes a sales conversation. If you're specifying battery storage or you're about to, hit subscribe. We cover the products, the regulations and the real world install issues so you don't have to find out the hard way on site. So that's FrostCore in principle. The PR S3 Elite is where it ships for the residential market. What the spec sheet gives you, minus 20 degrees C charge and discharge at full rated power without auxiliary heating, 15,000 cycle lifespan and a zero capacity degradation guarantee for the first 3 years at operating conditions. For residential installs, this is a meaningful differentiator. Scotland, Northern Ireland, Scandinavia, any install where the plant room gets cold, where the garage isn't heated, where the system is going into a utility cupboard that sees ambient temperature, your customer doesn't need to understand the science. They need to know whether their battery can charge when it's cold. The PR S3 Elite's answer to that is yes. And the 15,000 cycle rating means the economics of smart tariff cycling actually work across the product's full lifetime, not just the first few years. For the customer running every daily cycle through a smart tariff, that isn't just a battery, it's the difference between a system that pays back and one that doesn't. Now, let's take that same engineering philosophy and scale it. The unique AG440 is Ampace's commercial and industrial system, and it carries a core development story that's worth paying attention to. The system was developed in partnership with CATL, one of the largest battery cell manufacturers on the planet. The AG440 carries both logos, and that's not a marketing decision, that's engineering validation. When CATL put their name on a product, they're endorsing the underlying cell technology. That's a significant statement about what's inside the cabinet. The numbers for the AG440, minus 25 degrees C cold weather operation, 50% higher energy density compared to conventional 200 kilowatt hour class systems, 50% reduction in installation footprint. That second number is the one that changes project economics. Commercial battery storage isn't just a hardware cost, it's civils, it's groundworks, it's floor space in a plant room that somebody is paying for. If you can fit the same energy capacity into half the space, you're not just saving on cabinets, you're saving on every trade that follows you. Less concrete, less steelwork, less day rate. A system that scales from a single cabinet per node, giving you a system capacity of up to 20 megawatt hours. That's a serious commercial and industrial proposition. Grid stabilization, large industrial sites, district energy schemes, the kind of project where system lifespan and cold weather reliability aren't a residential nice to have, they're a contractual requirement. Safety certifications UL 9540A, IEC 62619, IEC 62477 and ISO 13849, the full commercial compliance stack. The battery storage market is maturing, and the questions your customers are going to ask you are getting sharper. Does it work in the cold? How long does it last? And can I cycle it hard and still hit the warranty? For the PR S3 Elite, FrostCore is Ampace's answer to the first question. For the AG440, it's rated to minus 25 degrees Celsius. Different product, same cold weather commitment, 15,000 cycles and a 3-year degradation guarantee is their answer to the second and third. From a single residential install in a cold garage to a 20 megawatt commercial site, there's now a product line built on the same cell level engineering, not a heater, not a derating, the chemistry done right. Links in the description. If you're specifying Ampace, get in touch, details below.